In the annals of history, few figures loom as large and as ominously as Adolf Hitler. The architect of some of the darkest chapters of the 20th century, Hitler's impact on the world stage is undisputed. Yet, beyond the public persona and the military campaigns, lies a lesser-known narrative, that of Hitler's personal health. This story, woven from the threads of diet, disease, and dependency, offers a unique lens through which we can examine the man behind the tyranny. Hitler's health was a subject of much speculation and controversy, not just during his lifetime but continuing to this day. From his strict dietary preferences to his battle with numerous medical conditions, and his complex relationship with his enigmatic physician, Dr. Theodore Morel, each aspect of his health paints a part of a broader picture. A picture that reveals not just a man grappling with illness, but how those struggles influenced his psyche, his decisions, and, by extension, the course of world events. To the outside world, Hitler projected an image of robust health and virile energy, often speaking for hours on end at public rallies. However, behind the scenes, the reality was starkly different. Suffering from chronic digestive issues, severe flatulence, and a host of other ailments, Hitler sought relief in a regime of peculiar diets and an ever-growing assortment of medications. In the seclusion of the Berghof, his alpine retreat, Hitler's personal health battles played out away from the public eye. It was here that Dr. Theodore Morel, a physician of dubious reputation, became one of the Führer's closest confidants. Morel's treatments, ranging from the conventional to the controversial, would become a staple of Hitler's daily routine. The extent of Hitler's reliance on medication is well documented, with records detailing a cocktail of over 80 different drugs, including amphetamines, opiates, and hormones. This pharmacological dependency raises questions about its impact on Hitler's health, his mindset, and his decision-making, questions that remain the subject of ongoing debate among historians. As we delve deeper into the story of Hitler's health, we uncover a narrative not of strength but of fragility. A narrative that challenges our perceptions and invites us to consider how health, both physical and mental, can influence the course of history. Join us as we explore the complex interplay between a dictator's body, his mind, and the world he sought to dominate. In a nation famed for its love of sausages, beer, and hearty meats, Adolf Hitler's dietary habits stood in stark contrast. As the leader of the Third Reich, his personal choice to abstain from meat and embrace vegetarianism was not just a matter of health or preference, but a stance that intrigued and puzzled many. Hitler's transition to vegetarianism is often traced back to his early days in power. Motivated by a combination of health concerns, ethical considerations, and perhaps a desire to differentiate himself, Hitler's diet became predominantly plant-based. This shift was not only personal but also carried a public message, intertwining with Nazi propaganda that idolized physical purity and strength. Inside the walls of his private residences, Hitler's meals were carefully prepared to meet his strict dietary requirements. Fresh vegetables, pasta, and cereals were staples, meticulously crafted to suit his palate. Yet, despite his vegetarianism, rumors swirled about occasional lapses, highlighting the complexity and contradictions of the man. Hitler's choice of diet was more than personal, it became a subject of fascination and speculation. To his followers, it was another facet of his discipline and dedication to a cause. To his critics, it was a point of mockery. Regardless, his vegetarianism added to the enigma of a leader who was already shrouded in mystery. Behind the scenes, Hitler's diet was also a matter of state concern. His personal chefs were instructed in the fine art of vegetarian cooking, and his meals were often described in lavish detail in the propaganda of the time, serving as a testament to the Führer's self-control and ascetic lifestyle. Yet, the simplicity of Hitler's diet contrasted sharply with the complexity of his character and the brutality of his regime. His vegetarianism, while personal, became entwined with the broader themes of purity and control that underpinned his rule. It stands as a reminder of the contradictions within a man whose life and legacy left an indelible mark on history. As we peel back the layers of Adolf Hitler's life, his dietary choices offer a glimpse into the private world of a public figure. A world where the personal intersected with the political, and where every decision, no matter how small, was laden with meaning. In understanding Hitler's vegetarianism, we are reminded that history's figures are often a product of both their choices and their contradictions. In the shadow of grandeur and power that surrounded Adolf Hitler, a more mundane and distressing battle raged within him. Beyond the strategic discussions and the fervent speeches, the Führer was waging a personal war against chronic digestive issues and relentless flatulence, conditions that plagued him in silence, yet significantly impacted his life and leadership. Hitler's gastrointestinal distress was not merely an inconvenience. It was a source of embarrassment and discomfort, affecting his demeanor and possibly his decision-making. The strict diet he adhered to, while aimed at alleviating these symptoms, often fell short of providing relief, leading to episodes of flatulence that were both frequent and severe. In an era when medical knowledge of digestive health was rudimentary at best, Hitler turned to a variety of treatments and diets in an attempt to quell his suffering. From abstaining from meat to adopting complex dietary regimes, his efforts reflected the era's mix of emerging science and persistent mysticism in medicine. The intimate details of Hitler's health were closely guarded secrets, known only to his personal physicians and closest confidants. Dr. Theodore Morel, in particular, played a pivotal role, prescribing a litany of treatments that ranged from the conventional to the questionable, all in the hope of alleviating the Führer's discomfort. Despite the serene setting of his Alpine retreat, where meals were carefully prepared to meet his strict dietary guidelines, Hitler's battle with his own body persisted. It was a struggle that remained hidden behind the stoic facade of a dictator, a man who sought to control not just a nation but the very nature of his own health. Hitler's chronic flatulence and digestive woes serve as a stark reminder of the human frailty that exists behind the mask of power. These issues, seemingly trivial in the context of global conflict and historical atrocities, nonetheless offer a glimpse into the private suffering of one of history's most infamous figures. As we delve deeper into the complex tapestry of Adolf Hitler's life, we are confronted with the paradoxes of a man whose vulnerability lay hidden, overshadowed by the enormity of his actions. In understanding his struggles with health, we gain not sympathy, but insight into the intricate interplay of power, pain, and the human condition. In the inner circle of power that surrounded Adolf Hitler, few figures were as controversial or as pivotal as Dr. Theodore Morel. A physician whose methods and motives would be questioned both in his time and decades later, Morel found himself at the very heart of Nazi leadership, entrusted with the health of the Führer himself. Morel's appointment as Hitler's personal physician in 1936 marked the beginning of a relationship that was by all accounts, rooted in an unwavering trust from Hitler. Despite skepticism from others in Hitler's entourage, Morel's influence only grew, his treatments becoming an integral part of Hitler's daily routine. Dr. Morel's approach to medicine was unconventional at best. His treatments ranged from vitamins and antibiotics to more exotic remedies, including hormone injections and various stimulants. The precise nature of these treatments, often shrouded in secrecy, has led to much speculation about their impact on Hitler's health and, by extension, his state of mind. The ledger of medications Morell prescribed reads like a pharmacological almanac of the time. From digestive aids to address Hitler's chronic stomach issues to potent narcotics for pain and stress, the array was vast and varied. This reliance on Morell's concoctions raises questions about the degree to which Hitler's judgment and physical capabilities were affected by his constant medication. In the secluded confines of Hitler's retreats, away from the prying eyes of the public and the scrutiny of many who doubted his methods, Morell continued his work. It was a relationship built on necessity and faith, with Hitler's well-being ostensibly in the balance. Yet, as the war dragged on, so too did the questions about the wisdom of Morell's treatments. More than just a physician, Morell became a fixture in Hitler's daily life, a confidant among confidants. This proximity to power, however, was not without its costs. As Germany's fortunes waned, so too did Morell's standing, with many attributing Hitler's physical decline and erratic behavior in part to Morell's influence. The legacy of Dr. Theodore Morel is intertwined with that of Adolf Hitler, a testament to the complexities of their relationship and its impact on history. In the shadows of monumental events, the personal dynamics between a dictator and his doctor played out, raising enduring questions about the influence of health on leadership and the course of human events. In the heart of darkness that enveloped the Third Reich, a lesser-known dependency cast a shadow over its Führer, Adolf Hitler. This was not a dependency on the military might at his command or the fanatical loyalty of his followers, but rather a reliance on a cocktail of drugs prescribed by Dr. Morel. A dependence that would come to shape not only his health but his leadership. Dr. Morel's treatments for Hitler evolved into a daily regimen of pills, injections, and potions. This pharmacopoeia included a range of substances, from vitamins and glucose to more potent and, by today's standards, alarming concoctions of hormones, opiates, and stimulants. The intent was to maintain Hitler's health and vigor, but the effects, over time, became a source of much speculation and concern. As the war progressed, so too did Hitler's apparent dependence on these substances. Witnesses within his inner circle noted a marked change in his demeanor and physical appearance, changes that coincided with the increasing pressures of the war and the escalating dosages of his medications. This transformation raised questions about the impact of Morell's treatments on Hitler's psychological state and decision-making capabilities. The depth of Hitler's reliance on medication became a carefully guarded secret, known only to a few within the highest echelons of Nazi leadership. Morell's diaries, filled with detailed notes on treatments and responses, offer a chilling glimpse into the extent of this dependency. They reveal a man increasingly insulated from the realities of his crumbling empire by a veil of pharmaceuticals. In the twilight of the Reich, as Hitler's health and Germany's fortunes waned, the Führer's unwavering trust in Morel remained intact. Yet, historians and medical experts continue to debate the extent to which this pharmaceutical crutch influenced Hitler's state of mind during critical moments of the war. Was the man who led Germany to ruin impaired by his medications, or was he fully responsible for his actions? The legacy of Adolf Hitler's dependence on drugs is a complex web of medical ethics, personal health, and historical impact. As we delve deeper into the abyss of Hitler's final years, we are left to ponder the role that this chemical dependence played in the narrative of the Second World War. It stands as a stark reminder of the human frailties that can alter the course of history, hidden behind the facade of power. In the vortex of power that surrounded Adolf Hitler, a hidden dependency lurked, shaping the Führer's behavior and possibly the fate of nations. Beyond the well-documented reliance on a plethora of medications prescribed by Dr. Morel, Hitler's consumption of stimulants and narcotics stands as a stark testament to the pressures and paradoxes of his leadership. Among the myriad substances that coursed through Hitler's veins were potent stimulants intended to bolster his stamina and narcotics to ease his pain. These were not merely remedies for physical ailments but tools to sustain the Führer's image of invincibility. Yet, beneath this facade, they sowed seeds of dependency that would cloud his judgment and erode his health. The dual use of stimulants to enhance performance and narcotics to alleviate discomfort created a cycle of highs and lows, visible to those who looked closely. Hitler's public appearances, characterized by dynamic oratory and vigorous gestures, belied the private toll these substances took on his body and mind. Dr. Morel, ever at Hitler's side, facilitated this chemical balancing act with a regimen that was as varied as it was controversial. From methamphetamine injections to opiates, the concoctions Morel administered were designed to keep Hitler functioning in the face of immense stress and physical decay. As the war intensified, so did Hitler's dependence on these potent drugs. Historians have speculated on the extent to which this chemical dependence influenced key decisions. Did the stimulants bolster his resolve in the face of adversity, or did the narcotics dull his senses to the catastrophic consequences of his actions? In the solitude of his final days, cloistered in a Berlin bunker, the once commanding figure of Adolf Hitler was a shadow of his former self. The stimulants that had once fueled his fiery speeches could no longer mask the ravages of war and personal decline. The narcotics that eased his pain could not shield him from the reality of his impending defeat. The legacy of Adolf Hitler's use of stimulants and narcotics is a cautionary tale of power and vulnerability. It serves as a reminder of the human frailties that can influence the course of history, hidden beneath a veneer of strength. In the end, the drugs that once empowered the Führer could neither sustain his body nor his empire. Beyond the tumultuous roar of battles and the shadowy halls of political power, a more personal struggle besieged the Führer of the Third Reich, who battled an array of physical ailments in silence. These were the unseen enemies that accompanied him from the rise of his regime to its catastrophic fall. Among the constellation of Hitler's health concerns were symptoms that pointed to deeper, underlying conditions. Persistent tremors, noticeable in his later years, sparked debate among historians and medical experts. Was it Parkinson's disease, stress-induced neurological dysfunction, or the side effects of the myriad drugs prescribed by Dr. Morel? These tremors, often hidden from the public eye, became increasingly difficult to conceal, betraying a vulnerability that Hitler, and those closest to him, sought desperately to mask. Alongside these were gastrointestinal issues, severe and debilitating, that not only caused him personal discomfort but also fueled rumors and speculation about the source of his often erratic behavior. The veil of secrecy that shrouded Hitler's health was pierced only by whispers and guarded observations. His inner circle, bound by loyalty and fear, watched as the Führer's physical condition deteriorated. Yet, in public, the myth of Hitler's invincibility remained carefully curated, a facade maintained until the very end. In the seclusion of his private retreats, away from the demanding gaze of the public and the relentless pressures of war, Hitler's physical frailties became more pronounced. Here, the contrast between the image of the infallible leader and the reality of his faltering health was starkly evident. As the Third Reich crumbled, so too did the health of its architect. In the solitude of his bunker, besieged by enemies without and ailments within, Hitler's physical decline mirrored the fate of the empire he had sought to eternalize. The once dominant figure, who had commanded the attention of millions, was now a prisoner of his own body, a body marked by illness and the indelible scars of his choices. In the shadow of history, the tale of Adolf Hitler's physical ailment serves as a somber reminder of the impermanence of power and the inevitable toll of human frailty. It is a narrative that, even now, invites reflection on the complex interplay between the physical and the psychological, between the man and the myth. In the vast, dark tapestry of Adolf Hitler's reign, the threads of mental health and psychological turmoil are woven deep, forming a complex pattern that challenges the boundaries of historical understanding. Behind the facade of absolute power and unwavering conviction lay a mind fraught with paranoia, obsession, and an ever-tightening grip on a reality of his own making. Hitler's psyche, an enigma shrouded in the tumult of his times, bore the scars of his experiences and ambitions. His profound sense of destiny, coupled with a deep-rooted fear of betrayal, fostered a climate of paranoia that permeated the upper echelons of the Nazi regime. This paranoia, amplified by the pressures of leadership and the isolation of power, led to decisions that would alter the course of history. Secluded in his fortified enclaves, away from the world he sought to reshape, Hitler's mental state became an arena of unseen battles. Reports from those closest to him paint a picture of a man oscillating between manic energy and profound despair, his mood swings possibly exacerbated by the cocktail of drugs administered by Dr. Morel. The burdens of war, the loss of trusted allies, and the crumbling facade of the Third Reich contributed to a deteriorating mental condition. As the tide turned against him, Hitler's responses grew increasingly detached from the grim reality of the battlefield, hinting at a profound disconnect from the tangible consequences of his orders. In the solitude of his final days, surrounded by the echoes of a dream turned nightmare, the full extent of Hitler's psychological unraveling became apparent. The man who had once held the world's attention was left to confront the ruins of his own making, a confrontation that would end in the bunker's silent depths. The saga of Adolf Hitler's mental health is a poignant chapter in the narrative of a life that shaped the 20th century. It serves as a stark reminder of the profound impact psychological factors can have on the course of human history. In the shadows of monumental power and catastrophic decisions, the complex interplay of mind, body, and destiny unfolds, a testament to the enigmatic nature of the human psyche. As the shadows of the Second World War stretch long across the annals of history, the figure of Adolf Hitler looms, a man whose decisions shaped the fate of millions. Yet, beneath the surface of this monumental persona lay a complex interplay of health issues, both physical and mental, that influenced the course of his leadership and, consequently, the trajectory of the world. Hitler's health, marred by chronic conditions and exacerbated by a reliance on a cocktail of medications, painted a portrait of a leader whose physical and psychological state was in constant flux. This volatility was not without consequence, seeping into the very fabric of his decision-making process. The question arises, how did the man's health shape the leader's choices, and what ripple effects did these choices have on the broader canvas of history? From the invasion of the Soviet Union to the declaration of war on the United States, Hitler's strategic decisions were often bold, sometimes recklessly so. Historians and medical experts have speculated on the extent to which his judgment was clouded by his physical ailments and the potent drugs prescribed to manage them. Did these health issues diminish his capacity for rational decision-making at critical junctures? The intricacies of war strategy and the fateful decisions that led to the Holocaust were undoubtedly influenced by Hitler's state of mind, a mind besieged by paranoia, physical discomfort, and the side effects of medication. As the war progressed, the deteriorating situation on the front lines paralleled the decline in Hitler's health, each influencing the other in a grim dance of destruction. In the aftermath of the war, as the world grappled with the devastation wrought, the legacy of Hitler's leadership continued to provoke debate. The extent to which his health affected his leadership remains a topic of exploration and reflection, a reminder of the profound impact individual health can have on global events. As we conclude this journey into the health and mind of one of history's most infamous figures, we are reminded of the delicate balance between leader and led, between the personal and the political. Adolf Hitler's health and its impact on his decision-making serve as a cautionary tale, illustrating the complex interplay between the physical and the ideological, and the indelible mark they leave on the pages of history. As the curtain falls on this exploration into the health of Adolf Hitler, we are left to ponder the shadows that his personal struggles cast over the annals of history. The narrative of Hitler's health is not merely a tale of medical conditions and treatments, it is a window into the complexity of human frailty, power, and the indelible impact of one man's ailments on the course of global events. The legacy of Hitler's health, enveloped in secrecy, speculation, and controversy, continues to provoke thought and discussion. It serves as a stark reminder of the intricate relationship between a leader's physical and mental well-being and their ability to shape the destiny of nations. In the figure of Hitler, this interplay manifested in decisions and doctrines that would lead to unimaginable suffering and alter the world forever. Scholars and historians continue to delve into the depths of Hitler's medical history, seeking answers to questions that may never be fully resolved. The debate over the extent to which his health influenced his actions, and the course of the Second World War, remains a subject of intense scrutiny and reflection. In the aftermath of tragedy, the world has sought to heal and to remember. The lessons of the past, illuminated by the personal story of one of its darkest protagonists, underscore the importance of vigilance, empathy, and the pursuit of peace. Hitler's legacy, marked by the catastrophic consequences of his rule, also serves as a cautionary tale of the dangers posed when the personal afflictions of a leader become intertwined with the fate of a nation. As we reflect on the saga of Adolf Hitler's health and its reverberations through history, we are reminded of the humanity at the heart of historical narratives. It is a humanity fraught with complexity, capable of both profound darkness and enduring light. In the quest to understand the past, we find not only caution but also insight into the resilience of the human spirit, ever striving towards a future defined not by the shadows of yesteryear but by the light of understanding and reconciliation.